Hi, and welcome back to day 10 of the Austin Sew Along. In today's lesson, we'll be finishing the armholes and creating the button bands. So let's get started. All right, so we're going to start with one side, and both sides are the same. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to press this raw edge to the wrong side 1/4 of an inch. So head over to your iron, and we'll give those a press. So as I said before, we're going to just press 1/4 inch over to the wrong side. Now, if you are not great at pressing 1/4 inch under, or you just want an easy way to do it, I like to occasionally put a row of stitching where I'm going to flip it, and then the fabric will naturally want to turn right there. Then you're going to repeat this for all 4 sides. Now that we have the raw edges of each side pressed under, we're going to finish the top of the button band. So to do that, we're going to fold the button band right sides together along the center notch. You can see that here. Then we're going to pin that in place. Now we're going to head over to our machine, and we're going to sew across the top of the button band using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, so again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, you can see it is sewn, and we're going to repeat that for all 4 top edges of the button bands. Now we're going to finish the armhole. So the first step, I'm just going to mark a 1/2 inch from the edge within the seam allowance, and you can just measure and pin. You don't have to mark, but it's probably easier for you guys to see. Then we're going to take our bias strip, place it right side down, so the 2 right sides are facing each other. And we're going to pin it starting a 1/2 inch from the edge, right where we made our mark. Then, as always, I'm going to find the center, pin, and this is essentially the same as the neckline, aside from these first steps. So feel free to work ahead if you feel confident. There are a few different parts when we start flipping the button band right side out, but it's pretty straightforward. Make sure your edges are lined on those curves. Then we're going to head over to the machine and we're going to sew just along the edge of the binding using our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you'll start where our 1/4 inch is here, and you'll just go around and end at that same 1/4 inch. All right, now once again, I've taken the table off my machine to expose the free arm. Now when you get to the shoulder seam, make sure it's facing the right way. It doesn't get flipped as you sew. You may need to reposition the weight of the dress a bit. The skirt can get heavy hanging off the sides, so just keep an eye on that. All right, now our next step is to grade and clip the seam allowance. So we will be grading the seam allowance of the binding. And I'm just trimming that in half. Just gonna toss that. Then we're just gonna snip to, but not through, the seam line every 1/2 inch or so. And this just gives the fabric some room to fold back on itself without puckering or not wanting to lay flat. This is a lot of fabric to work with. Here we are at the dart. I'm just going to snip on the other side of the dart. And there you go. Okay, now we are going to press the bias facing away from the dress and the seam allowance as well. So I'm doing this over a ham because it's curved and that is a bit easier. Now we're going to head over to the machine and we're going to edge stitch through the binding and the seam allowance. Just going to line that up. You can see our understitching is in, and now we're going to do a little bit of fancy magic. We are going to fold the button band right side out and the binding will end up between it. So what I like to do is fold it down along the seam line, give it a nice finger press. Then what we're going to do, flip to the right side. Now we're going to go over to the iron and we're going to press our binding to the wrong side. All right, so here we are. We're going to just give this edge here a press. And then continue around the armhole. We're back at the side here, so we're just going to make sure our button band is lined up properly. Now we're going to fold the raw edge of the binding up to meet the fold line, or the fold where you flipped it to the wrong side, and we're going to press. and pin that in place. And here we are, getting back to the other underarm. So now we're going to need to press the button band to the wrong side, and we're going to be folding it over 1 1/4 inches. Now at the join, that'll be the hardest point to press, the waistline seam. Now repeat this for the other button bands. Once your button bands are pressed and pinned, we're going to head over to the machine and we're just going to sew from the underarm down to the hem. We're going to do that for both button bands, and then once that's done, we're going to be sewing this free folded edge down around the armhole. Okay, now I have my edge stitch foot on for this. I'm starting at the armhole. And I'm just sewing down the edge of the button band. I like to give the button band a little bit of tension just so it lays flat. Now again, when you go over here, you want to make sure the waistline seam lays flat. Then repeat that for the other button bands. All right, now we are going to sew along the binding. And we are going to sew from the edge. You can feel it underneath if you're edge stitching, or if you're using your edge stitch foot. Otherwise, you can just line it up. Now here at the dart, again, make sure that the guide doesn't flip the dart. And there we go. And you can see here it's getting caught. So all I have to do is lift up my guide. So here you can see the front, and then on the back, it's just a really nice finish going into the button band. Very smooth on the front, no fiddly bits. So you are going to repeat these steps for the other side of the dress. All right, so here you can see the side of our dress is finished. The button band, other button band, and then the armhole between the two edges. Now you'll notice along the edge we have not top stitched yet, as we did for the neckline. Do not worry about that right now. We'll be doing that in a future step. All right, so that is it for today's lesson. We have sewn our button bands and finished our armholes. Our next lesson is going to be hemming and top stitching, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below and I will get back to you. And make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you don't miss any of our video updates. I will see you back here next time. Bye-bye.